next episode of Perspectives with Jeremiah Stephenson. I am your host, Jeremiah Stephenson, and today I have a wonderful soul, Tatiana Zappardino. She's an actress here in Atlanta, Georgia. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing so good.
Awesome. How's your day been? Let's start with the day, because I usually just jump right into it, but let's talk about our day for a little bit.
Well, the day is pretty good because, I actually just got back from LA yesterday.
Okay.
Since I spent the holidays with my family in California. And I got back to cat poop in my laundry.
Oh.
And they get a little mad at me sometimes if I leave them too long. And I'm
Okay.
like, oh, great. So I was dealing with that. I've been trying to clean today.
Yeah.
Scrubbing my carpets because I don't like cat smell. I have 2 cats, but I do not deal with smell.
What?
I make sure everything is super duper clean. And so I did that. And then I went to go have a little meeting with my agent, and that went really well. And
Super cool.
And then I'm here.
Nice.
I started working on French today.
Oh,
that was
really?
fun. Yeah.
Ooh, have you done French at all?
I have before. I wanted to get back into it because I kind of miss learning languages.
Mm-hmm. How many languages do you know?
I speak a little bit of Spanish, but I used to speak Italian pretty well.
Oh, nice.
Because I was deployed to Italy.
Okay.
And I lived there for a little bit. But you lose it if you don't work on it. Because no one speaks Italian. No one speaks Italian to me. They say ciao. I'm like, all right, cool. Got some.
You know some more?
Yeah.
Nice. So we always start off with this question: who are you, and what is your story?
Who am I? It's such I'm still trying to figure that out. You know what I mean?
I think we all are.
Yeah,
to an extent, yeah.
I feel like I'm starting to figure out who I am now that I just turned 30 this year.
Congratulations!
Thank you so much. Yes. You start realizing you don't have as much time to waste on nonsense. You know?
Yeah.
So you said, what was the other question? Where'd I come from?
And what is your story?
What is my story?
Yes. And let's start from the beginning.
Yeah, my story. I was a big baby.
Yeah.
I ruined my mom's vagina for forever. Born in San Diego. It was not the nice parts either. It was more like the little the ghetto parts. A lot of needles on the walk home from school. And you're like, whoa, dodge.
Whoa, snaps, huh?
But it was a really tough upbringing. But something that I think built my character over time. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of the stuff in my life I had to earn. Yeah. And I love it.
Nice.
I love it. Sometimes I look around and I'm like, oh, why would I want this to be given to me? This is the fun part of acting, you know, where you haven't made it yet, but you're just working your butt off, and you're like, man, I gotta hustle. Yeah. Because once you're there, once you're okay, I have 7 Oscars on my dresser. What now? I'll just be offered. This is it. We're in the trenches, just kind of going for it. So, my story. I was a tomboy, joined the military. There's some cool stuff there, some regrets there, a little bit good, a little bit bad. I think that's in everything. Yeah. Then I started acting professionally about 5 years ago, moved to Atlanta, just said, whatever, go to a new city. I'd never been here. Yeah. Didn't know anyone. I knew Sarah Ekman, actually, which you work with.
Yeah, you guys went to college together.
Yeah, we went to college together. Yeah, so she was the only person I knew in the whole city when I moved here. So that was really fun. And it's so funny, to tell my story. It's just, everything happened so fast. Yeah. I think I just woke up one day and I was suddenly a homeowner with 2 cats. And I'm like, how did I get here? And I sometimes I don't remember. Yeah. So you're just taking it day by day. Yeah.
So what was your childhood before middle school? What do you remember from that? Who were you as a child? That's I love that question.
Well, it's actually kind of a difficult question, actually, because I don't remember my childhood. It came to be known that my mom believed something happened and I repressed it, unfortunately. Yeah. So I actually don't remember anything. Yeah. We were you remember when you're a baby and you're 7? I'm like, no, I don't. I blacked it out almost. But let's say 5th grade is when I kind of started remembering stuff. 5th grade, I've actually told this story before, but it really has shaped me into the person I am. I was very badly bullied as a young child because I was in more of the lower class. We couldn't afford new clothes. And I had 2 brothers, and we all kind of like shared clothes. So I wore like boy clothes to school.
Right.
I had lice, and my mom couldn't really deal with it. So she just shaved my head.
Yeah.
And I was bullied for looking like a boy, you know? And then God, like, society is moving a lot more towards accepting people for whatever they want to identify as.
Yeah.
But back then, it's like, you're a girl and you have a shaved head.
Yeah.
You're a he, she. You're and like just putting mean, horrible labels. And I'm like, I can't help that these are the clothes I can afford.
Like, yeah, this is what I have.
This is what I have. I'd like, but really being able to like rise out of all the crappiness that people yell in your ear saying you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not this, really kind of made me, value when you have good people in your life and find my own self-esteem on my own. Yeah. You know,
what was that process kind of like finding that?
It was a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even have my first kiss until college, you know, and then like, unfortunately, my first sexual experience was unconsensual. So then that led off into a path of like, didn't really understand who I was, didn't know what sex was, you know, just kind of let anybody have me kind of thing. Yeah. And I really had to learn how to find myself because I didn't know who I was. I'm saying like 30 hit and I'm like, oh, okay, not wasting my time on you. Like, it's just a different perspective like that. When you're younger, you go into a bar and you're like, oh, who's going to notice me? Now you walk in and I'm like, leave me alone.
I've definitely gotten to that recently because I know a lot of people at a lot of the bars. I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. Like, you're nice. No, you're really sweet. But I'm here to have a drink with the person I came with.
Yes.
And like,
enjoying people's company that like, that are like people that are going to stick by. Because I have lived in a lot of states and you learn that there's so many more acquaintances than there are friends in this life. And that's okay. Yeah, because like there's some people that they come in your life for a short period of time, but you experience something so great and you could hold on to that. And you had that moment, you had that love. You don't have to like be like, oh my God, we don't talk all the time. We're not best friends. Like that's okay. Yeah. Having 2 or 3 people that are close, everyone else, it's fine.
One of my best friends back in Brunswick, he said you have to have your handful. Like, who are those people that, like, your handful of people that are closest to you? Yes. And it could be 1, it could be 4 or 5, or me, it's like 7 or 8. Like, who are those people? Like, and for everyone, it's different. Like, how do you function? What do you need? How do you learn how to properly, healthily get the attention and respect and, like, all that just social food to help you feel yourself?
Exactly. Yeah. I agree.
What was your high school years like?
High school was better. I went to a lot of different schools because my stepdad was in the military. So I went to high school in Washington State, which is beautiful. And I almost got to like start new. Nice. You know, like bullied in California. I got a bad taste in my mouth. You know, I was scared. I was shy. But I had so much inside me when it came to like acting. Nice. So yeah, high school was an eye-opening experience because it was the first time I was able to find my voice. And I found when I was on stage playing characters, I finally found who I was. And I wanted to go straight to acting. I was like, oh my God, I found my gift in life. I was never good at I was never great at anything. Right. I was always good at stuff. Yeah. Like I did swimming. I was a good swimmer. I did water polo, I did cheerleading, softball, dance. I was in the choir. Like I was always okay at everything, but I was never like the number one person in class.
This is my thing. This is my passion.
Yeah. But then when it came to acting, for some reason, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I was always like ahead of people. And it wouldn't be like, I wouldn't have to work on it. It would just be like natural. And I was like, is this what I'm meant to do? And then of course I believe in the power of training. I still train today. Absolutely. But it was just like that moment where you're like, oh wow, this is my gift.
You're refining that gift. Yeah. That gift.
Yeah. And I was in the military for 4 years. They took 8 years of my life. Let's just say that because of college. But I just always was like one step behind of everyone. Like I couldn't find my place. I didn't fit in easily. I was always a struggle. I was always the black sheep in the military. And it wasn't me. And then right when I finally got out and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this now. I'm going to finally be able to act like I've always wanted. I could never go back. Yeah. And I think that's how you find your place. It's like, I was like, I'm in the military. I was making a solid amount of money every month consistently, you know, and then acting, you're like, oh, I make no money.
Yeah. Like, okay. How do I know if I'm paying bills this week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm happier than I've ever been doing something I love, and I can't go back.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
That transition from high school to college, what was that like? And then, so was it high school, college, and then military? Or military?
High school, college, military, acting, yeah.
So let's take us on to that.
Yeah, so college, I mean, those were the messy years, because, like, I was a pretty good kid in high school. I was like a terror to my parents, let's just say that. Like, I was an emotional wreck, whatever, but, you know, I never kissed a boy, never went to parties, never drank, never did drugs, straight A student, you know, like, I was a good kid.
Yeah.
And then when college came and I had my first drink, first sexual experience, everything was like downhill. Like it was more like I would just go to classes hungover and do the bare minimum. I would like the first thing I would do is like look at my syllabus and I'd be like, okay, how many days can I miss and still pass this class? Like that would be, and it was a horrible thing. Like, you walked in with. Yeah, it was like, let me just get through this, you know? And, I definitely look back and wish I would have spent more time. Like, you know, I love learning and it sucks that I lost it back then. Cause like sex and alcohol really cloud your life. And people are like, it's just sex, it's just alcohol. I'm like, no, it's not. It took from me something that like I wasn't able to get back right away. Yeah. You know? So college was kind of a blur. Like it passed by. I met some great people. But it was just kind of, I graduated by the skin of my teeth. Yeah. Is that the phrase? The skin of my teeth?
Skin of my back?
I don't know.
It's a term that a lot of people don't use much.
Yeah, anymore, my teeth and my skin. My back of my teeth.
Yeah. I was hanging on a bar with my teeth. Like it was painful.
It was something. I was like, all right, I'm barely gonna pass, but got my degree.
Yeah.
And
so what's going on next? Yeah. So you graduated college.
I did.
What made you decide to go to the military, and what branch did you?
I went to the Marine Corps.
Awesome. Thank you for your service, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I was actually at a cemetery today. That's something I did, which I thought I had some really good thoughts there, which I can talk about in a second. We'll definitely come back. No, the military paid for my college. So I got a Marine Corps scholarship at high school, when I graduated high school. Okay. They didn't offer very many, but I was, like I said, I was a good student back then. Yeah. You know, got a scholarship. So they send you to college because officers have to have degrees. So during the 4 years of college, you're also doing ROTC training. So every summer you go and do like, we did corpsman, which is like you spend a week in each field in both the Navy and the Marine Corps to figure out like what you want. If you want to do aviation, ground training, air training, or Marines just have 1 week. Yeah. But, and then you do mountain survival training, which was super fun. Learn how to survive in the mountains, you know, kill animals and like stuff like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't mean like nice like kill animals. Yeah, I'm from like super South Baptist Georgia.
No.
I know. Yeah, but a lot of people that I'm meeting up here are not. So I'm like,
well, I know that everyone's so sensitive these days. Yeah. I'm like, okay, listen, like, sometimes you got to do what you got to do to survive, you know. Yeah. So. That's why I was in the military. They paid for college. Gotcha. And then once you're done with college, you get commissioned and you have to serve 4 years after that. So.
Okay. So your 4 years of military, what did you do? Like, was it something that you were kind of like, I'm obligated at this point? Or was
you have to do it, yeah. But I was a public affairs officer. Once again, I went to the basic school, which is a 6-month training program for Marine Corps officers. And then after that, you choose your like specialty selection.
Gotcha.
And there was only 3 spots for public affairs officers. It's very difficult to get into. A lot of people want it because it's like a fun job.
Yeah. What does it consist of?
Public affairs. So like I would do like Facebook journalism. Okay. You know, kind of the image of whatever unit I was attached to. Yeah. It's like the social media person, pretty much. You know, like, and the reason I wanted is like it kind of has something to do with film only because of the media aspect of it. So I was like, okay. And then we also got to learn like how to do like interviews with like news stations and stuff like that. So there was a lot of practical stuff that I was able to really carry on outside of the military, which is why I loved it so much.
Nice. Acting. You got out of the military. What was that story? When did you
I always wanted to.
What clicked for you to like move to Atlanta?
Oh.
Like, what was that whole little situation about?
I was trying to get back into acting like towards the end of my military career. So I was doing like community theater, which loved it. I was like leading these 2 plays. I got awards for both. I was at Sneeds Fair Community Theater, which was amazing people. I loved them so much. And then I was at the Rivertown Players doing Pippin. Oh, so much fun. Nice. It was such a good time. So yeah, I was getting back into it with theater. I was working with my friend teaching improv to kids. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm getting an idea of like, I'm getting back into it. And I took some acting classes with a gentleman who lives up here, Anthony Reynolds. Okay. And he's like, I was like, okay, cool. I'm about to get on in about 3 months. I'm going to move to LA. And he's like, no, don't do that. What are you talking about? Yeah. And he knew the inside scoop because he's been doing it for a long time. And I was like, what? And he goes, oh, Atlanta is about to blow up. Like, get there on the ground floor. And I was like,
okay, what you talking about?
Yeah, sure. I have nothing to lose. Like this is a move. Like I can go anywhere right now. So I was like, yeah, sure. Just go to Atlanta. And that's how I went. I just heard him say it and I said, sure.
Cool. I do want to jump back though. What was your household like growing up?
Well, I was one of 5 kids. We all had not the same parents. We're all like half. I was the black sheep actually. Okay. My all my siblings, like even as adults, they all have their crap together. They're all like they're all just good, inherently good people. My brother, he was out of the Air Force. He's engaged now, and him and his fiance, like they're just freaking perfect. Wow. And then my sister, she's married with 2 kids. Perfect. My little brother even, he's actually a minimalist who like lives in his van and works at different Renaissance fairs around the country. That's really cool. Straight edge, doesn't drink, doesn't do drugs. Like just a good kid. It like doesn't, he's like, I don't need things to be happy. I'm like, I need everything. Like give it to me.
There's some things that I need to have.
Yeah. And then my little sister, she's so smart. She's in high school right now. She's gonna, I don't know, be a doctor, a lawyer, or something.
I say that about my 2 younger siblings are like fucking A+. I'm excited to see what they do.
I thought the next generation was gonna be dead and stupid because technology ruins you, but I think it made them smarter faster. Yes. Just like that plethora of information right there. They don't have to look at textbooks.
Not at all.
Textbooks.
Just like
go to the index.
I have to go to the index. All right. How do you spell this word?
Yeah.
What page is this?
There's no autocorrect.
Yeah, like what is this thing? I don't appreciate
I'm like,
this.
They don't even teach cursive anymore. I'm like,
they
rude.
don't. So I learned cursive and it was I can't
I love cursive. I hate lifting the pen.
I think it's beautiful. I just can't read it. I can't read it either. It's hard to read. I can. It takes me a second. But like, I don't know. I feel like that should definitely be. Maybe everybody doesn't need to learn it. Yeah. Make it like this really cool, like, oh, you know cursive, I know cursive.
Like
too.
calligraphy or something.
Yeah, like something that's really cool. Yeah. Like that. But no, like just hearing about all that. Do you think that? And you don't have to like all these questions. Like you can talk about as much as you want to. You don't have to let anything go. But do you feel like being the black sheep of the family that helped kind of perpetuate later on as you got older and into college? Did you take that on is what I'm asking. Did you take that on and put that on as yourself? Like, did you describe yourself as that? Because you didn't see yourself as a whole or part of the family. No. So I guess I'm using black sheep wrong because my family has always been very supportive and loving of me. I was just always the mess. I was always messing up. Okay. Well, everyone knew who they were and then kind of did what they needed to do and they were successful, whatever they did, and like find love so easily. Like, I don't know, all this stuff that's like stuff I want. Yes. It was very much harder for me to attain. Gotcha. That was what I meant. Like, no, I'm actually probably like one of the only kids in my family that reaches out to each sibling personally. That's good. And goes out of my way to help them and see them. So you are, in fact, a good person. I was going to stop you earlier. I was like, you are a good person, too. I know what you mean.
But that's what I meant. I meant more like...
Yeah.
Like, they just have it... Like, the military is really tough on me. I actually didn't do well in it. And college, I like almost dropped... Like, I almost failed. Like, it's just... Everything was, like, really tough for me.
But I think going through those things and having those experiences, you can share your story, and this is why I do the podcast, is to share your story to help other people who may be in those same moments. Yeah. So I have a friend that has been through a lot of shit, and he just started a community college doing welding. He just started doing welding. But
nice.
this dude's been out of the country so many times I couldn't count. He's 2 years younger than me. Like, this dude's like intelligent as shit, but he's had a lot of stuff that's happened in his life, and I enjoy watching whatever's going to happen next, because I feel like as he continues to grow as a person and who he is, like, as he meets people, because of the experiences that he's had, he'll be able to connect with people in that
for sure.
I may not be able to even talk to, because I don't know how certain things affect people, or I don't know how, like, the mindset of certain things are. So I think that you being able to have those experiences, positive and negative, they're still very much a part of you.
Oh, for sure.
That you can help other people, and not even help, but just relate and empathize.
I know. I completely agree. That's why I'm very open about, like, my unfortunate sexual history sometimes, because I'm like, I don't think it defines me. I don't think it makes me a weaker person, a victim, or anything like that. But it is more of I can relate to a lot of people who've gone through that, and letting them know, like, that doesn't have to be your story.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it doesn't have to be the definition of who you are if anything ever happens in that kind of instance, you know? Yeah. You can overcome it. You can become a positive influence in this world, and you can be able to, like, just be successful in whatever you do. It doesn't have to stop you. And, like, so I completely agree with that. Like, bad and good, it all comes out, and it is all able to, like, help someone in some way that you don't even realize.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like, who knows?
Is there anything that you, as a kid, like, what were your ideas of the world, and growing up, what's the differences?
Let's see. Well, TV and movies screwed me up, because I used to almost, like, think they were real life. I know that sounds weird, but, like, I'm sure a lot of people feel that way.
No, I think that's
like love.
Okay, yeah.
Love has changed so much over the years. When I was young, I thought it was this. I thought it was, you see him, you turn, you know, there's the dramatic music swelling in the background, and you're like, there we go. And then you say, no, I can't do this. And then they chase you. And then they're like, but I love you. And they dip you. And like, and then, like, you have babies, and it's over. Like, literally, I thought I would find my one true love very early on, and it would just fit. Yeah. You know, and I don't know. Now that I'm older, it's been getting harder to really open up to people anymore, because you get crushed a lot, you know?
And you don't want to have to continually feel that.
You're like, now I don't even know what love looks like. I don't, you know? But then you those times you see good relationships, and you're like, okay, it's out there. I just have to be more patient. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So that would be the biggest thing. When I was young, I was obsessed with love. Yeah. I wanted kids and a husband more than anything in life. And now I'm like, I got a cat, you know, like, I'm happy. I don't know.
What are your ideas on love now? If you want to go into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, what are your ideas on love now?
I think I was in a rough relationship these past 2 years, and it was very eye-opening. There was some good stuff, but there was a lot more bad, I felt like. And the moment I turned 30, I realized for some reason that, oh my God, I just wasted my last years in my 20s on a man who I don't think really loved or deserved me. And then I thought to myself, no more. Yeah. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to waste my time on someone who doesn't see me as, like, a queen, as a beautiful entity in this world, and who tries to take my light. And if they're anything less than that, I can't waste my time. I don't care if you have a cute face. I don't care if you have dimples. Doesn't matter to me. You know, like, I'm, like, literally at this point in my life where I'm no longer looking for love. If the right one comes along, that's what I'm going to be. That's where I'll be. Yeah. I'll be waiting, but I'm not searching anymore. I think that there's the difference. Like I said, I went into a bar, and you search and you look around for who's the cute ones. Give them that vibe. Okay. Now it's like, I'm going straight blinders over here. If you want to get my attention, if you want me to fall in love with you, you're going to have to make yourself known, and you're going to have to put the work in, because I'm done giving my time to people who just don't deserve it. Absolutely. But I think that also goes with friendship. Yeah, absolutely. I'm, like, very on the side of, like, I'm not going to invest time in friends anymore that don't want to invest back. Yeah. Or, like, just don't appreciate your time. You're like, I mean, that's okay. Like I said, I was saying earlier, You don't have to have everyone be your friend.
Right.
All right. There's acquaintances you see at parties. Hey, what's going on? What's going on?
Good to see you.
And then there's the other ones that like really like put the work in, put the pedal in the metal.
That's one of the things me and my last guest were actually talking about is seeing how relationships for us have changed over the last year or so. And seeing like some of the people I used to call my best friends, we don't talk as much anymore. And part of it is on me, part of it is on them. Like we're all busy, but it's also 2 of them got married. So like that's understandable.
So now that's their best friend.
Yeah. And like it's supposed to be like that.
Yeah,
and
there's
so
seasons.
like it's seasons, and it's allowing people to grow apart but still appreciate what we had.
Exactly.
Because I can still call them up and just be like, hey man, like what's going on?
They're not going to turn you away.
Right.
They just might not be able to see you as much.
And then I've had other friends where it's been kind of like I just can't be around that all the time, or like I've been putting a lot into this relationship and I'm not getting anything out of it.
Yeah.
And one of the things, so with me, my grandfather, we had a step grandmother, and when my grandfather passed, my mom kind of went back over into her life and was like, wow, this is like an unhealthy relationship with this woman, like just her relationship with her, and like these are all these like manipulative things that were going on and so forth. And so we ended up cutting contact with her, and then that was 2010 or 11. So my mom passed away in 2016, and
so sorry.
Thank you. I hadn't talked to her then, but she reached out to her family again. So literally all of my immediate family like have talked to her, and then they're like, my brother was like, you should talk to her, you should call her, and all that stuff. And I was talking to my therapist. I was like,
you don't have any to.
Yeah, like I feel like it would take more out of me with everything that I have going on in my life. It would take more out of me to try and even start a relationship and rebuild something there. But it's not beneficial to me because there's other relationships like with my older brother that I want to continue to build and nourish. Yeah. And I cannot have that mind space to be able to do both of those things. Yeah. So I think
I've had it both ways. Like I had this one friend that we weren't changing together. She was still like kind of a very negative person, you know, kind of like just seeing the world a certain way. And I didn't want to see it that way anymore. And she didn't like kind of grow with me. So I cut the relationship. Yeah. And I felt like that was what a healthy cut was, you know, like, but then there was like my father who passed away.
Sorry.
Thank you. Our relationship was like just always this. But he was my dad, and I wish sometimes, like, I mean, all the time, because like our last 6 months of his life, I didn't speak to him because we were in a fight, and I was like, my life's better without you, and that was the time where I was like, I wish I would have stepped up and tried to mend things, and talk to him, you know. So I've had it both ways. Where it's like it's a healthy break. And then the other ways where I was like, wait, if it was healthy, why did I regret it so much? Yeah. It wasn't healthy. It was me running away from something that was painful versus facing it and being able to solve whatever the issue was, you know, especially when it's family. I think family's just different.
It is.
It's really hard to cut family. Like sometimes you want to cut, you're like, oh, they're so negative. I'm like, yeah, but if they don't have you, who do they have sometimes? Yeah. And you're like, ugh.
One of the things I haven't said this forever, me and my brother, my older brother and my dad would always like kind of butt heads and stuff. And my older brother would always come to me. Everyone comes to me. Yeah. And I think now my younger sister more so, because she's like 18 now. But, like, he came to me one day, he was like, yeah, Dad's doing this and stuff and stuff like that. I was like, homie, you need to calm down. Because without him and his dick and Mama's pussy, you wouldn't fucking be here. And I'd run around and say that for, like, a couple of years, and I kind of calm down with it. Nice. But, like, it is that weird thing where it's, like, we are literally blood. And it's difficult to maintain at least what does healthy look like with someone where it's been very strained and toxic, and it's a very interesting thing. And I was talking to somebody else with their relationship that they're going through is like, you have to forgive these people, and then you have to know that they may not ever change. Like that relationship may never change, but can you within yourself get to a place of, I've forgiven you, I'm at peace, I've said the things I need to say. That way I can grow and continue to grow. Because if you don't get to that point, you get into a place of stagnation. Yeah. And then it affects your other relationships in your life and overall. Yeah.
I mean, love is about accepting somebody the way they are. And I try to change my dad so much. I was just trying to change him. Yeah. Constantly. I was like, this is what the kind of dad I want. And because he wouldn't change, it was conflict, you know? And then I look back, I'm like, I wish I didn't try to change him. Accept him for where he was and just enjoy him for who he was. And I think that's such a testament for how I should love people. Yeah, absolutely. You know, like it's hard sometimes. I'm like, this is the kind of that little girl in my head that's like, this is what love is. This is what the guy's supposed to be doing and what's supposed to look like and how he's supposed to act. Yeah. If he doesn't open doors for you, he's not a gentleman. Like all these rules that are tied up in my brain because of what I was almost maybe brainwashed as a child thinking. Yeah. But then I look back, I'm like, no, you know what? I go back and forth on this all the time because it's a very hard conversation. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think it really is just dependent on the person and what they choose to do that's best for their life. Absolutely. You know?
Where do you see yourself within yourself going next? Like, not career-wise, but as a person. Like, what do you look for? Not even, like, relationship-wise, but, like, what do you look for in growing as a person?
I'm really on this journey right now of, like, trying to find myself and love myself again, because the last relationship I was in, I quote unquote in, I lost who I was. Yeah. I was almost this shadow of who he was. And I was so tormented by just this jealousy and rage because of things that happened during our relationship that I didn't know how to be happy or a loving person in this world. I didn't know how to help anyone because I was so just in this dark cloud of shame and misery and stuff like that. So right now I'm just trying to be like, I'm okay with who I am, where I am, trying to give myself self-love. I started therapy, you know, thank you.
It's fun. It's become fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think this guy's really worth it. One of my friends recommended him and he's like, I had one session so far and I'm like, oh yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. And I actually don't drink anymore. So that's been amazing. Yeah.
What was that like? What made you get to that point? If you want to talk about
it. There was an incident, just a way I acted when I was drunk, and I didn't want to do that anymore, so I decided not to do that anymore. Yes. I mean, I think that's, and then it's a struggle. There's times where I'm like, man, I really could use some glass of wine, or everyone else is drinking, maybe I'll just have one drink. Yeah. But once I'm as far as I am, it's like, okay, don't stop now, because once you stop, it's hard to get back onto that like success train of like not doing that thing. And also, alcohol's always been, like, a center of ruining my life. It has. Since that, I mean, that was the first time I drank, was the first time I had sex, unfortunately. And then it was, like, almost connected to that, where, like, I couldn't have sex without drinking. And every time I drink, I would have to have sex. Like, it was such a manipulator in my life. And it would tell me these lies of, like, you're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not confident enough unless you drink. Yeah. You're not funny enough. You can't be around people unless you drink. All of these things. And I relied on alcohol to be almost an more interesting, confident version of myself. Yeah. And I was like, who am I without it? You know, and that's what I'm trying to find out. Yeah. I'm like, okay, can I go to a party and still have a great time without having alcohol being my part of it? Yeah. And other people can handle alcohol a lot better than I did, but me, I was in the Marine Corps, you know, so I was surrounded by these guys who were like, chug, chug, chug. Yeah. And then we were like, oh, you can go hard and go harder. Like, and it was this kind of like competitive mentality, you know, you're like, oh, no. And then like I get here and I can drink like 3 bottles of wine. And people are like, what's going on? I was like, oh, it's not normal.
Sunday last year on Sunday evening or Sunday afternoons, I would drink a full bottle of like the $7.50 like wine, and I just like, and looking back on, I was like, damn, man, that was a lot of like, jeez.
Yeah, and then the time you waste of trying to get unhungover. So like, I'm like, I would have 2 beers and I'd be hungover for 3 days. I'm like, what's wrong with my body? I'm so old. Yeah. So I'm like, I was all those days of me like just sleeping because I could not function from being hungover. I'm like, I'd rather have those days back. Like, life is so short. I don't have time to waste it on that crap. Yeah. You know?
As you talked about, like, finding who you are, what have you found? Like, who are you thus far? Like, because I know you're on the journey right now, but, like, what things about yourself have you, like, fallen in love with?
I'm starting to like my face more.
What? You have a wonderful face. What? I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. What are you saying? I just want to like my face more.
No, I'm sorry for whatever was said as you were growing up and the actions that were taken. Like, I'm sorry that was said because you have such a wonderful face.
Thank
oh my
you.
God.
What? Yeah. Well, I'm just saying. I'm finally starting to like. I'm starting to accept it and I'm like, okay, you know what? I don't think I need to criticize myself anymore. Yeah. I don't need to look at myself and be like, you need to look like this. Mm-hmm. It's more like, man, I look good today. Oh, yeah. And I've never been that way. I've never thought like, ooh, girl, hello, what's your number? You know, like, no. It's always been like, okay, I guess, how can I trick people into thinking I look good today? You know, like, it was that mindset. And yeah, like, you don't act like that in front of people, but that's what I would think. But that's what's in your
head. That's what's going on.
I'm like, what can I cover? Yeah, what can I hide? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I think I like what I look like.
Oh. So how has that transformed your acting anyhow? Because being in front of people so much and having that insecurity about yourself, has that changed your acting in any way or helped?
No, I feel so different when I act. Mm-hmm. It's the only thing I've ever been confident in. Mm. Like as soon as someone gives me lines, as soon as someone presses record, I like almost come out of my body and I just feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be and it just happens. Like I almost don't think about it. Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm the best actress in the world. No, I'm just saying like they're the only moments I never feel unconfident. Nice. Is that the word? Disconfident? Anti-confident? I don't know.
We can say disconfident. Hey, this is my podcast. You say what the fuck you want to.
Yeah, there we go. Boom. Done.
What's on your mind? Like, what would you like to talk about? Like, you have an audience. What would you like to tell an audience of people?
You know what? I was actually thinking about this today, and I think this is a lovely time to talk about it. I was walking around the cemetery today because I went way too early to my little meeting with my agent at the Oakland Cemetery.
I know.
Have you been there? It's like it's like near Grant Park. It's across the street from 6 Feet Under. Okay. But they have like a whole Confederate Army section of like buried people, and I'd walk around and there would be like little tombstones that say unknown. You know, and I just like sitting in military cemeteries and just like loving onto the service members of our country. Absolutely. Because I think if you're not a service member, you don't understand it. You don't. Like people look at the Confederate Army and be like, oh, they all loved slavery immediately. And I'm just like, you just don't get it, you know, like, cause, how it works is like, I mean, I was a service member during the Obama administration. I didn't vote for Obama. Like I didn't, all the politics that happen, like you don't notice because you're almost like only there for the men and women next to you. Absolutely. That's how they get you to fight is you fall in love with the people that you're protecting here, you know? So like, sometimes
I think that's beautiful because I feel like we really do remove ourselves from where we are and then fall in love with like the ideas of things and we forget the people that are next to us. Yeah. And it's really sad because I feel like almost everybody does that.
It is.
And I feel like it's been publicized a lot more recently than in the past. Yeah. Like, because we don't remember that. No. Like Bobby down the road. He's a person too. Like he's a regular person. Maybe I disagree with him, but like he's a freaking person. He has a family. He has people that loves him, and like he has really great qualities. But we decide to look past that and look past the person. It's like, damn.
And it breaks my heart because like since I know how it works. You know, like the generals, the big guys up top. You know, they snap a finger and say send 40,000 troops. Not putting names to them, but their numbers, their percentages. They're like, oh, if 10% of them die, like that's pretty good probability, but that's still 10%. Yeah. Those people matter, and it just always whenever I see an unknown name, I'm like, they can't be forgotten. That's not fair. Like someone had to have known they died. Like that. I don't know. Like I was in Cuba and it's a communist country.
Yeah, my roommate actually just got back from Cuba. He went it's 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's freaking beautiful.
Yeah,
but you know how they do it. Like the government takes all their money, distributes it. So there's like a solid poverty line. Everyone's kind of the same poorness.
Yeah.
You know, there wasn't much television. No one had like, there's a few people that had phones, but like there's no phones, no Wi-Fi, you know? So they had all these horrible circumstances thrown upon them. And the only way they could find like their happiness this is what I got. This is just my opinion.
Yeah.
Where they could find their happiness was like leaning on each other.
Yeah.
So like when we'd walk down the street, all of the Cuban people were outside of their homes, sitting in chairs, saying hi to everyone, talking to, like that's all they have is each other, you know? And that's how they train service members. Like at boot camp at OCS where I went to, they tear you all down. They give us nothing. They give us no hope, no happiness, nothing. So the only person you can lean on is the person to your right and the person to your left. You know, and that's how they get you to like go and do these missions that are all like a conduit. They're just like a step 1 to a step 5 that they might not even get to. Like it's just crazy. Like I'm not anti-government. I just want people to know that there's so much more than you can imagine, and it's not the service members' fault if they're fighting something, you know. And I don't know. That was just something that was on my mind today. Absolutely. I was like, this isn't fair. Like, why are you gonna hate the military and like, like I don't know.
I was talking to jump back to the Confederate versus the North, like that whole thing. I was actually at a party last year. Was it last year? I was at a party last year, and this young kid that was talking about some stuff, and me and my 2 really good friends who we ended up talking to, we had this really good conversation. And one of my friends, his dad is in the Coast Guard. But we were talking to him, to the kid, and he was like, yeah, like, I feel like America's gonna, like, we're about to, like, have another war against each other. And I was like, my friend was like, no, we're not at that point yet, because they don't, like, we don't understand today that was families fighting each other from both sides.
Exactly.
And we lose that. Like, we are not ready to kill our cousins. Like, we're not ready to fight each other. Yeah. It is not at that point. Yeah. But, like, because of, I guess, like, just all of the consistent bombardment of, we're not equal, like, we're not, like, together, we are not, like, everybody's different, everyone has, like, they believe this, that it's just like, oh, we're gonna have to fight. Like, no, like, no one's ready to get to that point. Yeah. And I think that's a beautiful thing, but it's sad to see that being expressed. Yeah. Because it's like, no, dude, like, calm down.
I mean, that's the beautiful thing about freedom, is that, like, Americans have the freedom to hate each other. Yeah. Yeah. To speak up and say, I don't like what your views are. I don't like where your views are. I'm going to start a cult. Like, you can do whatever you want, which is beautiful, but it's also like the scary part. Yeah. You know, absolutely. But you can't have one without the other. If you're going to give people the ability to do that, it's not going to always be pretty.
Like, having freedom, me and my mentor were talking about this, is it comes with the price of responsibility. Like, it is a responsibility. Yep. Like, having freedom is responsibility. Being responsible, like, the way you live your life. Because you can do anything and everything you want to, but, like, if you do that, there are consequences. Are you ready to accept those things? Like, yeah. I don't know. There's so much to it. Yeah, it's an interesting conversation.
Like, when it comes to the Confederate Union, I don't know about the war. Okay? Yeah. I wasn't there. I was not freaking there. I don't know. But I will say this. This is what I can imagine. Yeah. Only because when I have so much empathy for stories within stories, right? So, like, the South versus the North. The North invades South, right? And they're going to go in. They ain't asking you, hey, are you a slave owner? Do you believe this? No, they're like, this is a Southern, kill it. We can't have more, you know, absolutely. Like, it's all a numbers game. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, the war is just about numbers. It's about bodies dead and who the last one's standing, you know? And then at the end, it's like, oh, the big guys were finding certain policies that you're like, oh, had no idea. I was trying to defend my chickens. You know, like, it's land. It's not fair. Right. Like a soldier who joins the Confederacy, probably because, like, his brother joined, his best friend joined. He's not going to let him go die alone. Or his family was just murdered by a bunch of Union soldiers. Yeah, I'm going to be a soldier. I'm going to defend myself. There's so many real stories within there. And all we sometimes can see is like the big thing, and it sucks because I'm like, like, if I know a lot of people went to Afghanistan, Iraq, they went there for certain reasons, whatever. They didn't go there because they wanted to kill family. Like, there's just People just see that big, like, one sentence that Fox News says it is, and it's like,
no, there's a lot
more reasons, and like, I don't know what to like. It's
take a second.
It's not fair.
Take
just
a second.
Take a second. Yeah. Don't judge so hard.
I feel like we just accept things and go with it and run with it, and it's sad because you can really find some beautiful things in like terribleness. Like you can find humanity in it. Yeah, you can find humanity in it.
You can find it in anything. Yeah. I think there was like some Nazi soldiers who were trying to fight against that. Really, but like they were. Yeah, I forget. I don't remember where I read this story where like they were like very against what they were doing, but they were forced to become a soldier, and they would try to sneak out Jews. Like there's good people in there. You have to take away the surface.
Yes, because I was listening to somebody, a psychiatrist, I think it was on YouTube, but he talked about how you do have to put yourself in, like, anybody can be that. There's a book by a philosopher that kind of went over that, and there were a lot of people that were just doing what was given to them. Yes. Like, it's like, I have no choice, or I will be murdered. Yes, it wasn't like I love doing this. Like, it's amazing. I love killing you. It wasn't necessarily like that. Maybe, it's
for like some people, either you do this, or I'm shooting your mother in the face.
Like, so, and it's not to.
It's such a hard place to be in, and there's no excuse for that.
Right,
like,
there is no excuse. But
I'm not saying I am pro-Nazi.
Yes, that's not what we're saying. But we are talking about the bigger picture
I'm saying like the small photos of like, okay, guys, everyone has their own story.
Yes. And I think we don't listen to people.
And it's so relatable to today. Mm-hmm. If you look at someone and you're like, oh, they're immediately a slut for this reason. You're like, there's a story.
Deeper thing that's happening.
There's other stuff that you don't know about. Yeah. And it's so important not to judge a book by its cover, Yeah.
Damn. Do you have any questions for me?
Well, you said there's a question.
I'm going to get to that.
Oh, is that the end? Okay.
No, you're good.
Do you have any questions for you? So why this podcast?
Ooh, because let's see. I've been wanting to do a podcast for years. Mm-hmm. And last year I was driving home, and it was almost like I was driving home. I was just like praying. I was like, oh, hey, good time. I just felt like this download of just like, oh, you need to talk to these people and these people and these people. It originally started out with wanting to find like the weirdest, like craziest shit. Yeah. And like talking to those people and being like, what's going on? Like, why are you interested in this? Because I went to a furry convention like 2 years ago.
No, you did not.
I did.
No, you are you?
No, I'm not. I'm not. I
was like, all right.
No, I do have like the tail and the ears there that I bought there because like my thing is I love like I'm doing.
You love weird things.
I love weird things. And I love understanding why people love the weird things. Yeah. Because I think there's some truth to that. Like, and I think that you can't deny certain things, so that's why people are drawn to certain stuff. So let's find out about it.
For sure, you hate things until you understand it. Right. You know, like you're like,
you shouldn't condone everything. I say you shouldn't condone everything, but you should at least try and understand it to an extent. Oh my god, that's
literally what we were just talking about. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I went there, and it was one of the most accepting places I've ever been.
Of course.
But it's also weird as fuck. Like, like, Jesus Christ, it was fucking weird. Like, oh my god. And I was so happy, like, once I left, I was like, oh my god, I know who's a man, who's a woman. Oh, like, that was like it was just weird. But it was one of the most, I had a lot of fun there. I met a lot of great people. I would love to go back at some point. But I was like, I don't fully understand it. So, like, I would love to have a podcast episode where I could listen to someone talk about, like, what kind of got them into it. But I've always picked people that I think, like, you're a genuine person. That's it. That's another thing. Like, I had Jason McDonald up here, and, like, we talked about, like, just genuine people. And especially in this industry, finding genuine people, for me, is one of the things when I moved up here, was like, I have to have that. Because coming from a small town where everyone knew who you were, and, like, if you do some crazy shit, Bobby's gonna know about it tomorrow. Like, and being able to have people that are able to be real with you, and being in film, you definitely meet like the people that are kind of shady. But I've been blessed to have like meet people like you and like Jason.
I think Atlanta's just different.
I think it is. I think
I step in LA and I'm immediately like, oh my god, I'm so fat.
I went to LA once last year, and I was like, I don't like it. Like, LA to me is like an I-95 bathroom. Yeah. And that's disgusting for those of you who have been to an I-95 bathroom. Yeah. I want to go to somewhere else in California, though. I hear San Diego's beautiful.
Yeah, I never grew up in the nice areas. Okay. Yeah, but I hear it's nice for adults, like nice areas. Yeah. But yeah, no, there's something about Atlanta. I think it's because it's a smaller community. Mm-hmm. You hear easily.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know. It's like, I just heard something through the grapevine.
That this is a thing.
Yeah.
Is this a thing? Can you corroborate this?
Yeah. It's just exciting here because, we're growing so fast that any momentum by any actor is good for this place.
Absolutely.
So it's not like LA where it's like, I need it. Screw you. I hate you for getting it. It's like you got something awesome. They're going to bring more stuff.
It's a
Let everyone. Yeah. It's just,
community.
We're growing together. Like talking about that relationship. Like we're all growing up here. If the people down here who are complaining, they're like, this is what I hate. I hate when Atlanta's like, we're just getting co-stars. We're never going to get there. We don't have the talent of LA. You can leave.
Yeah.
You can leave. I don't want to hear you talk to my face. You're negative, and that's your brain giving you an excuse saying I'm not gonna make it. So I'll say like it's because of this. Yeah. No, it's because you're not working hard. It's because you're not maybe good. Because you have a bad attitude. Because you're pissing me off. Like I'm just so sick of it. I hate when people say that. It was like, oh, we're not LA yet. I'm like, good. I don't want to be LA.
We don't.
But
ever
do not down Atlanta.
Not at all. Not at all.
No, Atlanta's awesome.
Tatiana.
Yeah.
Now's the point of the podcast where our previous guest asked you a question.
Okay, cool. What's my question?
Would you like to know who our previous guest is?
Who?
I cannot tell you because...
Why did you say...
Because the listeners must go back to the last episode to listen and hear the question. I'm going to ask it, but for those of you listening, go back to the last episode, listen to it, and find out who it was so you can listen to this episode and hear the question. It's convoluted now, but I usually say a lot better than this. I'm tired. I worked a lot today. Just go back and listen to the fucking episode. You're doing great.
It's all right.
So you can find out who it is.
Okay, what's the question?
Because it was a great conversation. The conversation, or the question, not the conversation. Our question from our previous guest is, out of all the days of your life, what day has impacted you the most, for better or for worst?
Ooh. Okay, well, this is the day that I actually let Jesus into my life.
Hey!
Yeah, so when my dad passed away, I went into a funk and a deep depression of guilt and anger and pain, sleeping with everything that walked, started doing drugs for the first time. I didn't know if I would get out. Yeah. And then there's this moment, and I'll never forget it. I was in this, after hours club that I went with this one guy that I just met, this short little Mexican dude, and he brought me there, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna party more. And I walk in, and it was a basement, and there was only guys, and I felt this weird thing in me, yeah, something was yelling, and I was like, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom quick, and I go to the bathroom, and I look in the mirror, and it's the first time I saw what I became. I saw the cocaine in my eyes. I saw just drunk and sadness, and my face was dropped. I was almost like a dog, just my cheeks were down here. There's just something in me, and I looked in the mirror, and I was just seeing myself die because I was dead. I felt like losing him and just being a horrible daughter. I felt like I was gonna die. And it was the first time I look in the mirror and I heard God's voice. And people don't have to believe me. They can find their own story. And I'm not going to push my religion on anyone, but it's what saved me, because he said, turn away now. Do not come back to this. And let me be your father now. And when I heard that, I got up out of the bathroom. I left. I didn't say bye. Left, went home, threw away the rest of my drugs, got sober, and was celibate. And I started reading the Bible. Everything changed like that. It was a snap. Yeah. It wasn't over time. Yeah. Which is crazy. And everyone can say it wasn't God, it was this. I'm like, you know what? Let me tell you something. When I was in the darkest place, no human being was there. Nobody came to help me get out. Nobody reached their hand down. Yeah. He was the only one that took me out of darkness and gave me a second life. For that, he's my savior. Literally game changer. I believed in God through my life, but I never experienced his power. Yeah. So that would have to be the best day of my life and the worst day of my life.
You answered the question twofold. Yeah. That's amazing. That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. I want to give you a hug. That's amazing. I don't even know how to follow up on that. Well, guess what? I don't, because you get to ask our next question.
I get to ask the next
guest a question. Yeah.
The question I am going to ask is, if you could relive a regret you have, how would you change it? And do you think it would make your life better today?
Wow. I like that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's really neat. Whenever I ask people to ask the next guest a question, I'm always like, you don't have to be like serious. You can be funny. You can be silly or anything.
When was the last time you farted?
Yeah, like everyone is always like,
Just
I love
now.
the serious questions that are being asked,
Yeah,
because generally I usually don't know who the next guest is going to be.
Yeah.
And so some people have been like, do you know who it is? Like, no. And I had one guest who I knew who the next person was, and the question was so perfect. I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that divinity is just amazing. So I'm excited to see whoever I actually get on the next. Yeah. I love to see who I have on the next episode. For those of you listening, I intend on wrapping this podcast up entirely, or at least this season. I'm playing around with the idea on January 3rd or December 31st. That'll be my last episode. And
2018. 19.
Yeah, 19. Yeah, we're 19. We're at the end of a decade.
Where am I?
And at the beginning of a new one. Like, that's wild to think about.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take a break with the podcast starting 2020. I'm going to revamp it if I bring it back. And when I bring it back, I feel like I'm really leaning towards that. So reach out to me. Give me ideas. Tell me how I can improve. Wonderful critique, like actual critique, not just like, get a better mic. Even though this one is pretty dope. It's pretty dope. I have
the same mic.
It works wonderful. I've grown a lot from interviewing people and just having conversations. I hate saying interview because I don't read about people. I'm like, no, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Yeah. I've learned a lot from the conversations I've had. I hope you, the listener, you've been able to grow from these things, because that's what the point of this whole podcast was. It was to be a perfect, listen to Jeremiah's smooth voice and whoever else he's talking to.
Smooth jazz with Jeremiah Stephenson.
But it was to help people just get perspectives of other people's lives to help yourself.
Yeah.
So, Tatiana.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
This has been a wonderful conversation.
Yeah.
I enjoy your presence. You have a wonderful soul.
Oh,
you are
loved
so by people. You're like pretty wonderful.
You as well.
Thank you.
You know that.
You can find me, Jeremiah, on Instagram at PARKOURG33K. That's Parkour Geek. You can also find me on YouTube at A Token Steak. ATOKEN '*S TAKE. Token Steak. I haven't put anything on the YouTube channel, but I know starting December 2020, I'm going to put all of the podcast episodes on YouTube.
Nice.
With some bonus content.
Oh, snap-a-doodle-doo.
And a full episode with Derek Cowan that got deleted and we had to re-record. So, yeah, that one's actually really fun. You can also find me on Facebook, but I don't fucking know you, so I'm not going to add you.
That's true.
Tatiana, anything you want to plug?
Yes, my Instagram is at @tzappar, because my last name is Zappardino, so it's TZAPPAR. You can also just look up Tatiana Zappardino. There's not very many of me.
Awesomeness. Great. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you, Tatiana, for being on the show. We'll see you on the next episode. Be love, be life, be.